So Jane is going out now. What year is it? 2019?
It's 2019, 5 years, five seasons. And I wrapped like 2 days ago.
You're done.
I'm done. Oh. I finished. I completed.
What are we doing here? I feel like I should. I mean,
I'm leaving to Europe in a second. Don't worry, we're all good. This is the place to be right beforehand. I mean, it's really wonderful to be doing this though, again, because Jane has been around for 5 seasons. It's lovely to try to get it out there and get recognized. Being a part of this, obviously, we're really proud. I feel like I'm here with the entire cast.
Yeah, I bet.
Because we've been working our ass off. Oh, am I allowed to say that? We're working our tail off, and it's been really good. But I feel complete because I've known for like 2 seasons that we were going to end.
Yeah.
Season 5. So Jenny always had 5 chapters in her mind, and you know what it's like.
I know what it's like.
To not be able to like complete something, or to be able to complete something.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Gossip Girls like crazy. Did you
Gossip
guys get?
Girl.
Sorry.
You did. It's fine.
Oh. I'm also 34. It's kind of embarrassing that I can say that. I mean, I love that freaking show.
It's fine.
But did you guys complete? Because now I can't remember if you guys were able to complete.
We did. We didn't. It was not quite like an imagined 5 chapters. We got 5.5. It was like we were gonna. It was. I think the end was conceived of like the previous season.
Wow.
And then of course I am Gossip Girl.
So you are the Gossip Girl. But do you know what I'm saying? Like the idea of being able to complete a project.
Yes.
You only get so much, and I feel like actually that leads
surreal,
me right
actually.
to you. It's surreal. It is surreal, and like you're used to. I mean, listen, this was also my first series regular, so I don't know if I'm used to anything, but I feel like I've been told that it was a blessing to be able to complete something like that.
It is.
And then I feel like, with you guys had a life somewhere else, or to be at Lifetime and then to not see its potential, but then to go to another service like Netflix and be exposed to so many more people.
It's fully resuscitated. It was like a near-death experience. I mean, there was like a 2-week period where we were technically canceled, and I was preparing myself for the worst. But yeah, it's actually hearing you coming to the close of such a like definitive experience for you. I mean, it's like it's a lifetime. 5 seasons, especially on a show like these where the storylines are like, a lot happens. It was, you were saying so many marriages.
I got married so many times.
7 marriages in a season.
You know what I'm saying? Multiple babies.
So many deaths and people coming back from the dead. I mean, really, like you go through so much. Yeah. And so now that I'm starting on a project that feels in some ways like a meta progression of that, because it's taking the same sort of formula, but then inverting it and making it evil. And so it requires at once like the exact same thing of me, and also this wholly new dimension to it. So it's an interesting place to find myself, and I feel like the way that the show went from a more standard network, like Lifetime, which is something that we've experienced being on a television show on a network, and then going to this new place, this new, the new arena that is streaming, something like Netflix. I mean, I'm not sure how to articulate it, but it's an interesting thing. It's interesting to see how it evolves, and it's just.
It also makes me wonder the way we are consuming art and our desire to consume in greater chunks, right? So like in Lifetime, there's the releasing of 1 a week, and for a show like yours, I wonder if that was conducive to creating an art piece that people desired in that, So I feel like for us, for Jane the Virgin CW, we're exposed to a smaller audience, and then when we get uploaded to Netflix, it's just a wider.
Are you guys on Netflix?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So we get bought by them right away as well. And, when Jane had come out, it was like really awesome to see its effect. But then when it came out on Netflix, you were like, oh.
Yeah. Then you see how many people. Right. That's
and also like that, the audience member that likes to consume in that way. Mm-hmm. Because there's a part of me that kind of still wants like 1 at a time at times.
I personally like that.
But we're old school. We're old,
yeah,
Doug.
I know. We are a little like we're just tipping.
I said Gossip Girls.
I know.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm old, dude. Okay, so I put together a box of Michael's things. Oh, those were your LSAT scores. You passed.
Wow. I would never want to be a lawyer.
How are you feeling about the fact that, I have a Joe in my life, so it really creeps me out that you're a creepy Joe?
I know, yeah.
But how do you feel about the fact that because all I could read was about the desire and the longing for your character, and your character's not great.
Well, that's what the show's about. I mean, really, that's what the show's about. The show is about like how far. Well, I think the log line when it was on Lifetime was how far are you willing to go for love. But I was always like, no, that's not.
Ooh.
That's not what that is.
This is not love. This is not love.
To me, it's like, how far are we willing to go to forgive an evil white man? That's the way. That's what I think.
Can I get a stare in a camera?
Yeah. I do that every day, all day. Just staring into a matte box, an X on a matte box.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah,
Gotta
right,
love
right.
that. Gina, stare at this matte box and cry.
Right. Someone has just died.
Yeah, and go. Yeah. But
Yeah.
what about those, talking about staring at matte boxes, what's up with your crazy eyes?
My crazy eyes. This is something that people talk about. People have asked me, like,
I want to see them.
What is it
in the
about?
flesh.
What is it about? What is it about your face that can go from? I'm like, isn't that acting?
Yeah, it is acting. It is.
You're asking me how I make my facial expressions, and it's I don't know. I think maybe people are.
But there's a foundation of it. Like there's like a thing or a person that you saw, or like there's always like, I think
What do you mean?
the birth of your facial expressions.
Yeah.
They always kind of start somewhere. Because I know or at least for me they do, right? So I make crazy facial expressions on Jane, and they're always pulled from like somebody I saw on like the train in New York.
Really?
Or I'll look at somebody and be like, boom, taking it.
That's interesting.
And I'll just like
That's totally
take a picture.
foreign to me. I don't do that at all.
Yeah.
I don't do that at all. I'm not. Oh God, I'm not sure what I do.
I want you to tell me about these crazy eyes, and they've started anywhere.
Well,
Besides acting.
I don't find it difficult to access what apparently people define as like creepiness or even rage. I think it's like it's something that I don't know. With his character, it's very interesting because he toggles between this sweet sort of like on Gossip Girl, it might have been twee when I was Dan, but now in this different context, it's somehow people find it that it has far more depth, and they find it far more roguish and charming. And it's like, well, yeah, it's just because I'm killing people in the next scene, and maybe it's like there's something about that we're not evolved enough yet to like to not be attracted to. This is the evil white man thing that it's like, as much as we're progressing. I shouldn't maybe make that a tagline. When I say that, what I mean is like the cultural norms that we're still all indoctrinated by that incline us to forgive a certain kind of person, namely someone who looks like myself, less so than someone who looks like you. And what's interesting is that like both of our shows are these like pop culture kind of pieces that in very different ways. I actually love how yours does it too, by the way. It's so light.
It's very light.
I don't mean light
Lots of
in
joy.
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 Like for instance, none. None
Like, no joy.
in you. None in. But I mean, that's kind of like I think that's appropriate if the titular character in my case is someone who is, doing unforgivable things, and yet we keep performing backflips to figure out how it is that we're going to forgive him, and that's what you're speaking to is like I mean, I got a lot of responses on Twitter, like someone. Well, yeah, they just, a lot of what we like to call thirsty.
Oh, yes, I'm thirst.
Yeah, but yeah. So I just had this kind of measured response, like, hey, this is. Let's maybe check ourselves a little.
How we idolize.
And I was really pleased and surprised to see how much that kind of elevated the conversation around it and encouraged people to have like maybe a more like a deeper viewing of the show, which I think if you're not careful, because it's on Netflix and stuff, you could binge it all too easily, and then you're like, why do I feel off? Let me just binge something else to sort of balance it. So I think in a way, both of our shows are doing this interesting thing that
Are creating conversation.
Yeah. It's like it's a meta thing, because sometimes if you're a part of like a film that is really meant to speak for itself, for instance, like I'm thinking of something you've been a part of, like Annihilation, it's like, I think that does a lot of it speaking for itself, whereas like television is just a different form. The viewer engages with it differently, and I think if you can lean into the pop culture element of it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you continue the conversation also off screen, it has this interesting effect. I mean, you found that, right, with your show, like speaking to different.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with the complexities of the conversation around Jane the Virgin and the Latinx community are so great, and because the Latinx community is not monolithic, so it's almost difficult to have the conversation on a platform like Twitter, because it only allows so much conversation to be had. And so, I don't know, I worry about that side of pop culture as well, where we are having these conversations.
Do you work here?
Guilty. Guinevere?
Everyone just calls me Beck. And you're Joe?
Goldberg.
You smile, told me your name? Is there more to you?
Where'd you go to school?
Where'd I go to school? I had a really weird I didn't really go to school past middle school much. I graduated early because I took what's called a CHESP. I didn't know it was called that then. It's California High School State Proficiency Exam, exit exam. I went to Santa Monica College from like 14 to 17. I was accepted to USC as a transfer, and I never went. I was going to go to film school, but then I did a show on the WB, then the CW, and now I'm here. I've been working for Warner Brothers Television since I was 15 years old.
What a blessing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my
wow.
God.
Never intentional in that way.
But that's so lovely.
Yeah.
How wonderful has that been?
It's been interesting. I mean, and then to see like how the CW has flourished into this interesting space. You know what I mean?
It really has.
Like that was what I enjoyed so much when I saw your show. Is like what a positive platform it seems to be for young women of all different kinds.
Yeah.
Like thinking. I mean, like it even addresses. I mean, just myriad dimensions of sexuality and like, I mean, it's taking on. I mean, like abortion in the first episode.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty bold. But
Okay.
Jenny Erman, the showrunner, is just this incredible woman that wanted to write a woman's story and happened to put a brown woman in the space of it. And I think that's why it resonated so much. Specificity makes it more universal.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
We were talking about that yesterday, about the need for specificity. And I think that that's kind of in our culture what people are desiring to see themselves reflected on screen. So to have a show like yours that is idolizing the
the white guy.
The white man.
The white guy who's had it plenty. Yeah, I know, it's funny because like...
It's still awesome.
No, it is. No, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because I think it's the most responsible way to like... I'm almost interested now in... Because I'm ultimately more interested in production and writing and, getting on that side of the camera. And,
Same.
That's another conversation. We'll come back for that.
That's a good conversation, though. That's fun.
It is.
Yeah.
So, but, in terms of as an actor, I think I'm kind of interested in like, now that we're becoming more and more conscious of representation and stuff, and like not wanting to take roles from other people. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'll play this guy. I'll play the villain who encourages a certain kind of conversation. I'm not so, I'm actually not interested the way that I used to be in being likable, because my character actually now, the degree to which he's likable, which I know is a lot, but the degree to which he's likable, always it leads me to question, like, is this real? Is this possible for someone who's capable of murder at the rate he is,
I think we're seeing that in a lot of shows. I mean, I just feel like I've been reading a lot of articles when it came to like Zac Efron and the Ted Bundy, and that this sensationalizing of the villain is kind of something that we enjoy doing in entertainment.
We definitely do. As much as I think intellectually we want to step away from it, we want to be better than that, we're also proving that we're not free of it at all.
Very interesting about human behavior, right?
Yeah.
Because it is, like, if you even go to the other idea of the bad boy, like, the girls and boys that love the bad boy.
Well, you even think about, like, the icons that establish this, like, the term rebel without a cause. I mean, if you just examine that, there's no logic there. Rebel without a cause?
Yeah.
That's just an insolent,
it's just an asshole.
insolent little white boy.
It's just...
Oh, yeah, he's got a great nose. That's great. So did Stalin, who's really attractive?
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I'm conflating things that shouldn't be conflated, but,
maybe I can go to the used car dealership and get your car back. Oh, I'm sure they'll remember me since I was the one sobbing while I handed over the keys to my dead husband's car.
Why would they give you the car back when you already spent the money?
I didn't actually mean you'd be getting it back.
when it comes to the way that the art serves as a centerpiece for a larger conversation, whenever that's possible, when that's responsible. Like, what are you most proud of in terms of the kind of things you've been able to speak up or out for? Or
It's very interesting because I've been trying to deconstruct this because I think it is both liberating and terrifying to use your platform to speak out
oh yeah,
for causes, yourself, your community, whatever community that may be that you feel like you belong to. And I know personally, for me, as a Puerto Rican woman that has walked around with brown skin, whether I feel very Chicago or not, and have always been kind of considered at a very young age like an other, which is very interesting. And then now going into a space where I don't feel like an other because I'm extremely privileged as an actress. You know, it's just the range of emotions is pretty wild. But, you know, when it first started, it felt like there was no other choice but to be responsible with the blessings that I had gotten. Like, it felt like because there were so few of us, there was no other choice but to fight for everyone. And then I think the more I worked on Jane, the more I learned about where real change happens. I realized that I could not be a face for everyone of my community. That the Latinx community is monolithic, is not monolithic, and we come in varied shades and shapes and sizes and slang and music and food, and our differences are beautiful and our similarities are what unite us. But to create change for my community meant I had to move to the other side of the camera. So for so long I thought it was in front of the camera, being a reflection, and Jane taught me that I could only be a reflection for those that felt they related to me, and there were many that didn't. And I was so badly feeling like if I could just use my platform to help everyone, realizing that that wasn't the space that I help everyone. The space was producing, the space was directing, the space was creating content to put new faces in front of and behind the camera that weren't mine.
was the first time you directed in the 5th season? Is that right?
Fourth season.
Or fourth season.
Fourth season,
Okay.
yeah. And then I did 2 more this year, and I went and directed an episode of Charmed, and I'm going to direct my show that I just sold to Disney Plus, and it's very exciting.
Congratulations.
And I'm going to put new Latinas in front of the camera and behind the camera. But that was like really eye-opening because for so long the responsibility felt like it was on my face in front of the camera. And then when I learned the shift, then I had to learn a whole new space. I was just an actor in my mind, and I felt like that was my activism. And then I realized it had to go to other spaces in order to create the real change I wanted to see. And it's still ongoing, and but now I feel so much more focused on where I can actually move the needle forward. When before I really thought it was because I didn't see myself on screen, because there were so many women that I felt like I could look up to and would make me feel capable, would liberate me from feeling like I was not worthy. And so I thought I could do the same. But now I've discovered where I do the same. So Jane has been the platform in which I could make the jump off, but I've realized it wasn't just her. It wasn't just that character.
Yeah.
It was what I learned while I was creating that character that really, I think, has changed my motivation of the kind of activism I want to do. And not everything needs to be shared. And not everything needs to be, noted.
Right.
And not everything needs to, and I started to pull away from social media because I was losing my own craft. I was getting lost in, and I think what social media, the negative part can do to you, which is like it removes you from being present.
It does, yeah.
You know?
Especially as an artist who is visible, you then feel less and less and less and less like an artist. And you're
Yeah.
wondering what the purpose of the platform even becomes.
I think that's totally what I went through.
I definitely identify with that. Obviously a different dimension. I mean, in terms of someone like me, I didn't grow up worrying about representation. What I think is interesting now in a role like Joe is that it's in terms of being in front of the camera as opposed to behind, because I agree with you. I think in a lot of ways the purpose is to be, the more and more we want to center unseen faces and voices we actually can't be in front of the camera
Yeah,
anymore.
we've got to leave the space. We've
Right.
got to create the space.
But so as long as we are, and in my case, as a white man, I think it's interesting that like of all characters, it's now this guy who's sort of deconstructing that very image that we've seen for so long, like the nice guy who just wants to get on the inside. But it's like, bro, look in the mirror. You are the inside.
You are the
You're so
inside.
the inside. You have no idea. You have no idea. So
awesome.
that's personally where I've really loved the conversation around it. As much as I struggle with, because this is all like the meta stuff that you experience offset, like in life. The other dimension of this is like, so all this is really interesting, but then at the end of the day, in front of the camera, as an actor, you just have to make the moment real.
Sure.
You can't really think about any of this. In fact,
The death is thinking about any of this, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So for you, I mean, having to go through, can you actually do me a favor and just like count how many marriages you went through on the show? Do you
Three.
know?
I've been,
Three? Okay,
no,
so
sorry,
three is not-
two.
Okay, so it's not
two
so
marriages. No, but it is pretty wild, like I said, because I am going to get married. Doing the fake thing, because I'm like, never been married, never have done this before, but I'm gonna do what I see everybody else do. And now I'm gonna participate myself in real life, which is kind of surreal. My fiance was just like, don't waste your tears on the fake ones.
Well, that's all, that ship has already sailed. Your
Done and done, and
tears
I shed them for
copious.
days. Yeah, I mean, just way too, I'm a raw nerve, dude.
It's remarkable how your tears feel so real, so
The
often.
access, though, but you're right, it's about the crazy eyes, it's like,
Yeah,
it is.
I have
It's when
crazy eyes. I
acting
guess you
does-
have what? Like, it's not sad eyes. I don't find you to have sad eyes, but wet eyes.
I've got them wet eyes. I have an access that is unbelievable to like I can tap
Where
real
do you
quick.
think that, so what is it? You don't get that from people on the subway.
No, that you get from I think both training for sure. Like I went to NYU to School of the Arts and best training. I mean I just paid them off. Like yesterday, like they just took all my damn Jane money.
Right.
But but I'm debt free. But the training and definitely the technique of being able to access that. But I'm gonna say, I don't know. I've always been real in tune with my gut.
Every account set to public, you want to be seen. The next thing the internet gave me was your address. Your online life isn't real, but are you, Beck? Are you?
Let's talk about the thing everybody wants to know about, fame. What's it like?
But you've been mad famous for a long
It's boring
time.
to me. Can I swear it? Fame, it stands for, I have an acronym for it
Okay,
that I
go
just
do
came
it.
up with.
I want it.
It's fucking awful, man. Extremely.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway.
But it is
what's your
very
experience?
interesting, right? Because it is that bizarre space in between, like, blessing
And burden.
and burden.
Yeah.
And it's like that sliver that literally hangs out and like touches them both.
Yeah, you're like dancing on a razor's edge, just nimble.
Just like, don't cut me, don't cut me. But for sure, it is because with it, I think comes like, again, that responsibility, and
How quickly did it feel for you in terms of like, so Jane aired when?
2014.
2014?
2014,
So-
like September, October of 2014. October like 12th or 13th.
Okay. But
I'm trying to like narrow in on that
Yeah.
date.
So then when was it
But I
that
was
when
30.
Yeah.
I was 30. So like, I had been poor for so long. I had been a struggling actor for so long. I had not paid off my NYU debt. I was like this in water, right? Like a lot of artists out there. So it definitely felt like, it always feels immediate because you definitely go from like, oh, I've been struggling for 13 years to like, yay, I get to pay my rent. Oh my God, people are watching me. Oh my God, people are watching my acting that I've been working so hard for so long. Like my little co-star here and there, my little Ecuadorian on like Law and Order, my little like, all these little like roles that I played to get there. So that did not feel instant. But
Of course.
right?
But then it's
Because
like-
that's so real. But because I was blessed, I won a Golden Globe the first year in.
It was the first year?
It was like 6 months after we had aired.
Nice.
So that's what was the abrupt. Because I think
Yeah.
otherwise it wouldn't have felt as abrupt. But that really kind of put us into another space and allowed us to be seen because CW is a smaller network. You know,
Its
that's
shows are bigger than it somehow. Still,
and because they do get really great shows.
They have
And
a lot
like
of them, yeah.
Gossip Girl was next level for the CW.
It was.
And Jane the Virgin was its first like kind of, hey, y'all are talking inclusivity. This is what's up, you know? So I was very proud of this like little engine that could network that we both kind of were propelled into fame, me and the network, very quickly after that Globe. And so that was both, again, like a blessing. But I think the thing about fame, and this is what I'm actually starting to think about, is that like, you just can't believe the shit that you're given. And it's so hard not to as a human being.
Yeah, it's like a constant test of the ego.
It's a constant test of the ego. And unless you are aware and talking like, you know, my shit stinks, like I am not the end all be all. There is always somebody more talented, more driven, more ambitious, and I need to be grateful of what I have, and I need to be kind to the people that I'm working with, and I need to, you know, like keep creating great environments to work in. Because it's every day, you're everything. And the second you hear a little like, you're like, oh.
And when you falter as well, it's very public.
When you falter, it's public. When you fail, it's public.
Yeah,
when you break up, it's public. When you, you know, like, when you have a bad day walking out of your house and there's a paparazzi chilling out front like it happened today.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, that's...
You live in LA?
I live in LA.
Yeah,
that's not what the 15-year-old dreamt of. That's not what 15-year-old Gina dreamt of. It's the Apple contract that you agree to that you don't read. But you want it. You want it.
Yeah, you just have no idea what you're signing up for.
Don't know. But you want to act every day, and I still want to act every day of my life. Between action and cut, best time in the world.
That's a great way to put it. Yes, it is.
It's just like flying.
So what do we do? All the other...
Because action it cuts like 2.5 minutes, maybe.
It's not very long.
Like, it's the shortest time.
Don't turn the cameras off.
Please don't turn the cameras off, y'all. We can't do this.